Ukrainian American, first generation. I came from Ukraine 14 years ago. I now live in New York. And the question was, if
do you identify your sexual orientation?
Gay, 150% gay, honey.
Okay. And you are with the group of gay and lesbian Ukrainians that came to the Leslie Lohman Museum tonight to watch this film?
Correct.
This is propaganda.
Correct, yes.
The war
there is a social gathering group in New York which is called Rusa LGBT, which is geared towards the LGBT people from former Soviet Union that gathers once a month, but we also have special events like the screening that I just attended. And
one of the questions that came up at the Q&A after this very powerful film, this is gay propaganda, war in the Ukraine, was it about the visibility of women across the former Eastern Bloc taking leadership roles in the LGBT struggle. And the filmmaker said that she chose to emphasize the women because most of the films, not LGBT films, but most of the films are about macho men and their politics. So I wanted to know about gay men. And is it any harder to be out in these areas for a man than it is for a woman?
Like Marusa said, it's the author of the documentary. She said that it's a little hard to compare the level of danger for men and women of the LGBT community, but historically, culturally, lesbian sex, lesbian relations were never actually criminalized in the penal code, whereas the sodomy was. Ever since the anti-gay laws were passed in Soviet Union in 1930s, I believe it was 1932, the lesbian sex or lesbian relations were never part of the issue. It was always geared towards men, men and men, same-sex relationships between men.
This is the same as it was in the United States, by the way.
And the UK, by the way.
It also was talked about in the film that non-conforming gender expression, meaning butch women, were harassed a lot more than a very feminine sort of lesbian.
Correct, but that's also true for men. If you look sort of gender fluid, if you're not conforming to the strict masculinity standards that are in the minds of majority of Ukrainians, then yes, you are more prone to discrimination, you are more prone to violence even.
One of the young men in the film that lived in the shelter was named Vlad.
Yes.
And at the very end of the film it says, "We cannot find him." What does that say to you? What does that say to you?
I hope he's okay. He might, a number of things could have happened to him. I don't want to think anything really bad. He might have gone and asked refugee in Belgium. There are refugee camps in Belgium where you basically are to a degree isolated. You don't have enough communication with the outside world. I really don't know. I really hope he's not in harm's way right now.
No, this is a very important issue for you.
Correct.
Yes, and what do you think realistically will happen in Ukraine for LGBT people over the next 10 years?
Over the next year, realistically, again, I'm an optimist. Realistically, I see a way for improvement. Like I said before, at least right now, the LGBT issues are a part of a national conversation. They are at least talked about.
What was that? She said that in the discussion. Tell me what that actually means, that it's a part of the national conversation.
One of the very prominent LGBT activist, Bogdan Globa, actually made a speech in a televised broadcast at the Ukrainian parliament. He urged the members of parliament to adopt the anti-discrimination laws. He underlined that LGBT rights are human rights, and that if Ukraine sees itself as a future member of the European community, bypassing the rights of LGBT community is not an option.
I'm going to ask a non-LGBT political question. The way the Ukraine is pictured here by our media is that it's run by fascist thugs.
By fascist thugs?
Thugs, yes.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, it's a very simplistic way, but so it stops any real discussion of what the culture is today.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I don't entirely agree with that. I watched the media coverage from almost 10 different countries, and including the United States. Russia wants to portray the Ukraine as not the Ukraine as a country being run by the fascist thugs. However, it's not in any way rooted in reality. Ukraine is basically on the brink of completely breaking free from its former Soviet past. That's what is happening now.
Thank you for that answer, because I think that that's a very important thing that needs to be said.
My pleasure.
Could I have your name one more time, please?
My name is Denis Joran.
Hello, Dennis. Thank you.
For sure.